G'day everyone, welcome back. We are live here and we're doing another little bit of list building. We're doing, I was going to say something different, but we have done a Chaos Space Marine list before, but we're trying another detachment. We haven't seen that often. So, or at least I haven't seen that often. It doesn't seem to get much play or much love. So I want to make sure I jump in and give it a little bit of the love it deserves. So if you are new to this, basically each week we do a bit of a live stream where we build a different list based on a different 40k faction. We'll always encourage people to share and comment what they'd like to see as well. So don't be afraid if there's a team you'd like to see underrepresented or you just want me to have a crack at building a list, make sure you do jump in the comments or the live chat here as well and let me know what you'd like to see. Basically, I guess today we're looking at the Night Lords. That's the Chaos Space Marines team. We're also looking at the Dread Talons detachment. So one that I think has a little bit of I find it interesting because it relies hugely on battle shock, which is such an interesting core change to the new edition. I still find I'm not sure if everyone knows exactly how effective it can or it can't be. Some teams lean into it a lot, some teams don't lean into it at all. And we've seen, especially with teams like the Tyranids, with their Shadows of the Warp ability to make every unit in an army have to do battle shock tests. It feels like it could be it feels like that it should be better than it is, or maybe more powerful, but it's a bit of a mechanic that gets ignored. So I want to see playing with this detachment if we can have that Shadows of the Warp type feel, make a list that can take maximum advantage of it. And of course, make sure that we make it a fun list to play too, one that can be a bit of a take on all comers kind of list as well. So please join in, follow along as we do this as well. And we'll share your thoughts in the comments as well, because we want to make sure that as I'm building, if you have any thoughts, ideas that may help us, don't be afraid to let me know your thoughts. So let's dive in. Always what I like to do, or I like to start with, is we have a bit of a look at the detachment rule here as well, just so we get a bit of an idea of, I guess, what they're trying to suggest or how they should suggest we should start to build the list. Usually this can help highlight the certain types of units we should be using in the detachment. So the Dread Talons detachment rule. In the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if an enemy unit that is below its starting strength, so it doesn't have to be too much, it can be just one model they've lost, is within 12 of one or more Heretic Astartes units from your army, that unit must take a battle shock test. So we're already seeing straight away, we're wanting to get our units nice and close to the enemy. Being the keywords only Heretic Astartes, that's pretty easy to hit as well. So shouldn't be too much of an issue to get that relatively consistently. G'day Mel Lily in the chat. Thanks so much for joining us. Always great to have you hanging around with us. Thanks so much. The other part of this rule, each time a unit within 12 inches of one or more Heretic Astartes units from your army takes a battle shock test, subtract 1 from the result. So again, now we're starting to see this is going to stack with the first part. If we're within 12, we're forcing that battle shock test. And then, of course, we're minusing 1 that from that result. Enemy units affected by this detachment rule do not need to take any other battle shock tests. So no double dipping, no doubling up with that, but that's not too bad. We'll come back to enhancements. We'll have a bit of a play later with those ones. We can see the most expensive is 20 to 10, between 20 and 10 points. So a little bit going on there as well. Let's have a look at the stratagems. So depthless cruelty in the fight phase. One Heretic Astartes infantry unit from your army that's not been selected to fight until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a unit that is battle shocked and or below half strength, improve the AP by 1. Not bad. I mean, it's always good to have little extra ways to get some AP. And again, if we're leaning into the team mechanic of getting those battle shocks off, this gets a little bit easier. It's a little bit frustrating that you have to still then pay a CP on top of. Already we're seeing there's a little bit of doubling up on the mechanics to get some benefits, whereas things like Dread Reavers and that, it's like if the enemy's standing on an objective, you get plus 1 AP. That's a little bit nicer, but it's something. We won't turn our nose up at it. Next up, we've got Bloody Example. So in the fight phase again, seeing a theme here. Just after a Heretic Astartes unit from your army destroys a character unit, basically you can spend a CP and make all enemies within 12 inches invisible to that unit. take a battle shock test then and there as well. I mean, again, not bad. Again, we are relying on battle shock tests and also our opponent failing those battle shock tests. We're obviously getting they're going to have to do that with the -1 as well because we're going to be within 12 inches. It's okay. I don't mind that. I mean, the main benefit here is, I guess, if there's another unit you're going to be fighting soon that maybe using a defensive or offensive strategy, or maybe like defensive something like Armor of Contempt. Making them battle shocked means there's a good chance they can't use it, but it still comes down to a dice roll. They can still pass it as well. So, all right, characters again, killing characters not always easy. Gene Stealer Cult, great, lots of them, but other armies may be able to get around this a little bit easier. Pitiless Hunters is in our shooting phase. One infantry unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time model in your unit makes an attack that targets a unit that is battle shocked, seeing the theme, you can re-roll the hit roll and you can re-roll the wound roll. This is actually really nice. Again, ties into the detachment rule very nicely. But being able to, anytime you can get it so that a unit can re-roll the hits and the wound roll, I really, really like that. So we'll see. It is only infantry only, so no sneaking and chucking it on some tanks or something like that. That might have been nice if it was just any unit in the army. And again, though, tied into must be battle shocked, then we still have to spend a CP. I can maybe see why this isn't as popular as detachment. Relentless Terror. When your movement phase, in your movement phase, just after infantry unit has fallen back, you can then basically be eligible to declare a charge in that same turn. So this is actually really good. I'd say by the looks of it that we're going to be looking at some jump pack troops, things like Warp Talons, things like the Raptors as well. Units that want to jump in, hit. If they get tied up with a unit that's the wrong type of unit or maybe a fight they can't win, being able to fall back and get back that initiative in close combat is pretty handy. So we'll take that. That's not too bad. Screaming Descent. In the reinforcement step of your movement phase from the second battle round onwards, one Heretic Astartes jump pack. So again, we're talking Raptors and Warp Talons. Set your unit up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 6 inches away from enemy units, but you're not eligible to declare a charge. Then select one infantry or mounted unit within 9, make them do a battle shock test. So probably discounts the Warp Talons out of this one a little bit because obviously they don't really have the guns. They've just got, as the name suggests, the Talons. So we're probably looking at this is going to be really just on the Raptors, which is still good. The Raptors can come in and put out a fair amount of hurts. Obviously dropping in like this and letting them make a unit do a battle shock test could also then mean if you do that, then you could also double it up with Pitiless Hunters as well. So there's some play there, but that is 2 CP on a unit that's okay at shooting. Could be something. Maybe there's something there. We're starting to see some little bits and pieces we can do here as well. Lastly, we've got Merciless Pursuit. End of your opponent's movement phase, one infantry unit from your army that's not with an engagement range. Select one enemy unit that fell back in the turn is within 6 inches of unit, and basically you can charge. You can do a follow-up charge to them, jump in and stop them escaping. Actually pretty handy. Most units aren't going to be running further than 6 when they fall back. So for your standard infantry, most things you're going to basically be able to charge. You don't get the bonuses for doing that follow-up and charging, but it's still pretty good. I mean, keeping units tied up that don't want to be tied up for 1 CP is very nice. So I'd say looking at those, this is an okay bunch of stratagems. It's not fantastic. There's definitely, you can see the angle it's wanting us to lean towards, definitely looking at Warp Talons and Raptors as being a key component of the unit. At least now we've also got things like the Jump Pack Lord as well. I reckon we might have a quick look at the enhancements here too, because this may also dictate what kind of warlords and leaders we go for as well. So we've got our Heretic Eater of Dread, a Heretic Astartes model, so that could pretty versatile with who it can go on. At the start of your command phase, if the bearer is on the battlefield, roll 1d6, adding 1 to the result for each battle shocked enemy, and on a 5+ you gain 1 CP. Not bad. I actually think this would be great in a lot of detachments. Probably the thing that hurts it here a little bit, again, it is tied to battle shocked units, so things with high leadership Custodes, Space Marines. They may not be hurt. This may not be coming up as often, but anyway, you can get extra CP, even if our stratagems are only okay. Still pretty good. Still pretty good. Then we've got Night Shroud, Chaos Lord model only, excluding the Terminator. Models in this unit have the stealth ability. I really like that. That's pretty good. We're talking if we're dropping a units in. Welcome to the chat there, Geraldo. Thanks so much for joining us. You're just in time. We're just getting started. Just reading through the enhancements of the detachment we're building with the Night Lords today. So yeah, being able to give a big, maybe a 10-man blob of Raptors or something stealth to keep them a lot safer when they dropped in is pretty good. I definitely really, really like that one. So I reckon that might be something we're trying to save 20 points for sure. Warp Field Thrusters, the Jump Pack Chaos Lord only, so a bit more specific with this one. At the end of your opponent's turn, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can remove the bearer's unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. That is actually also really nice. Again, a big unit of Warp Talons or something being able to come in, strike, and then nick off again, or even as we saw with Screaming Descent, where we could drop in, shoot something, and then when is it? At the end of your opponent's turn, yeah, if they're not within engagement range, they could nick off or get in, kill something, disappear. It's probably going to be better with something like the Warp Talons, as they can get in and do some cutting up, hopefully kill the unit, and then disappear. Pity we can't double up on with the Night Shroud, because having stealth and then being able to sneak away would be very, very handy. Will Breaker is our last one. In the fight phase, after the bearer has made its attack, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. That unit must take a battle shock test. We're seeing a theme here. So lots of ways to get that battle shock going. It's interesting. I'm actually excited, because if I build a good list that I like here and that I can actually field myself, I'd definitely be very, very tempted to test this out and see how effective it can be, pumping out all that battle shock and what that actually does. I mean, it could really, really cripple your opponent's ability to actually score primary, score secondary, and use key stratagems. But it is still dependent on the dice roll. So we'll see. All right, let's jump in. Now we've got all that information crammed into our brains. We're ready to start actually building our list and having a bit of a look. So I think we definitely know for sure, straight off the gate, we definitely want to get a Chaos Lord with a jump pack is going to be our first person we want to put in there. I haven't actually had a chance to run one of these so far, but obviously might even be a unit we're looking at maybe running two different ones, and leading two different types of units. Hopefully get two different things out of them. But with leader, what can these guys do? They can lead. Where is who they can lead? Excuse me here we go. Leader. So they can only lead Raptors. They can't lead Warp Talons. So that's actually a little bit more interesting. A bit of a shame, actually, because that would mean that's just one unit. So it's kind of pigeonholing us a little bit in terms of what we can do. Doesn't mean that, that Raptors aren't good and that Raptors can't do amazing things. But yeah, changes how we might use the Warp Talons as well. He's obviously got the classic Lord of Chaos, which is once per battle round using a stratagem, which is really, really nice. And also Cruel Hunter. When they pile in or consolidate, they can actually pile in up to 6 instead of 3. So pretty good at keeping everyone wrapped up. 4 up invul, and when they're looking at was a cursed weapon, 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 5 -2, damage 1. Not terrible. You can also look it up. Then we can get Twin Lightning Claws, Power Fists. There's options there as well. So I guess with those stratagems we were looking at, I think we're going to pop one of these guys in definitely. We're going to do the Night Shroud straight away, because I think that's good. And I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be crazy. We're gonna chuck a second one straight in as well, and we're gonna go the Warp Field Thrusters, because I think they're the two standouts. Usually I leave enhancements to the end to fill out points. But I think with the way that this unit is gonna sort of work, or how it needs to work, we probably need to look at getting some of those enhancements straight away to back up what we're trying to do. We might even look at potentially a third one, and then even pop on the Will Breaker to get the extra ability to, or the Eater of Dread to get extra command points, or Will Breaker to get extra battle shock tests going. There's a few options there as well. I'm also just going to chuck in quickly. This might be out of hand, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to chuck in Cypher as well. just as a potential little secondary unit. We're going to have a lot of guys with jump packs jumping around, but they're also going to have to do a lot of work with the killing side of things. He may get dropped if we think we've got enough jump packs going on, because we could also look at a few MSU sort of sized units there as well. So, all right. Now we want to look at our infantry. So I think we want to go and look at 10-man teams straight away to go with our characters here, our Chaos Lords with the Raptors. And I want to get them, make them big units, because I think they've got to come in and do the hurt straight away, especially if we're looking at then also having the ability to reposition with the warp fuel thrusters as well for at least one of them. It's not as big a deal to have a big unit. That way they can put the hurt, and then when they need to, they can, if we drop them correctly, hopefully they survive and then they can run away. So we'll change. So what are options here? So we can take for every two, we can take 2 guns in there. What's our melter gun? I reckon the melter might be the go here, because we're going to be dropping in nearly all the time at 12 inches. I think let's go 2 melter guns, because I reckon we just want to drop in and burninate stuff, and it gives us a little bit of punch as well. We can also, yeah, we can take 2 of those. So yeah, perfect. So 2 selections, 5 mil. So that's it. So we're going to have, let's just get rid of that and let's double that up. So that's going to be 2 of our squads now with double melter guns. It may be as modeled if you've got your own at home and you don't have these set models. Don't stress. Taking plasma guns, taking flamers, you can have a bit of fun. There's no right, not necessarily always a right or wrong answer. I just think if we're hypothetically building at the moment, the melter guns are probably going to be a great choice. Gives us the ability to punch up a little bit as well. Strength 9, so some of the weaker vehicles and things like that is going to be nice. And then also, if say for instance a vehicle is battle shocked or something like that, using things like pitiless hunters to reroll a hit and wound roll, we can do that with these guys because they are infantry. So that should give us a good way to punch up. Being able to hit with the melter guns, but being able to re-roll makes them a little bit more dangerous. Don't get me wrong, that's not going to be our only anti-tank, but that ability to hit either elites or vehicles gives us a little bit more flex with those units. So I really like that. All right, look at that, 650 points, and we didn't even try. I guess what we want to kind of look at too is, as I always talk about, breaking the list down into a few different things. We want to make sure we've got something that can hold primary for us for the game, score primary, hold those objectives. We then want to look at things that can score as secondaries. And then, of course, we need to have stuff that kills things. That's always the 3 tenants or the 3 tent poles that are going to hold up our list here. So at the moment, we've got these 2 squads of Raptors, and I think these are leaning into killing. Then we're not really wanting to use them to hold. These are hit elite infantry or hit things that might be safe. Could also be dropping into the backfield there with the 6-inch drop, lifting off, their home objective, the unit of guardsmen that are guarding their home objective or something like that. This unit can shoot and hit hard enough to lift up those softer units for sure. All right. So in saying that, we probably do need to look at what we're going to drop on some primaries to hold them. So is it we're looking at just some basic kind of, we probably need to chuck in a little cultist mob. We love some cultists looking after our home objective. The benefit of these guys too is that they do sticky objectives. So even if our opponent returns the favor and drops something in within 6 inches, these guys can still sticky the objective hopefully before they get lifted. So definitely chuck in a unit of those ones. And then I think we probably want to look at maybe a couple of 2 just sort of basic Chaos Space Marine little guys, to legionaries, to run up and down the board. These are great versatile units, and even if we then sort of just chuck them in a little Rhino, you've got 2 5-man squads. The Rhino is going to give them some ability to hoon around. If they blow up the Rhino, they can jump out. One can hold one objective, one can run away. And even in 5-man squads, they can kind of hit pretty hard. So let's chuck that in for now. And then that's the start of us looking at holding that primary. I still think we definitely need to look at some things that can help us lift enemy vehicles, especially at the moment. Pretty vehicle heavy meta at the moment. So maybe I always think the Vindicators are fantastic. Having one of those in, only 185 points. and they just really make your opponent worry about them. They're just a tank you can't really ignore. Um, so definitely chuck one of those in. What else would we like to see? Because we could also look at even something like a unit of Chaos Bikers. This is probably more a theme choice. I just think they're a fun unit to storm up the board, get on an objective early. Because what have they got with their special abilities? They've also got rapid assault. So yes, they're a great one to. They get an extra attack on the charge. Not too bad. So improve the strength of it. Sorry, apologies. Charge move this turn, improve the strength character of that attack by 1. So they go up to strength 5, zero AP 0, damage 1. It's not really their strength, but again, against screening or scouting units for 70 points, they can probably get rid of most of those. So, yeah, not too shabby. Not too shabby. Let's pop the bikes in for now. They might be on the chopping block if we get a bit tight with points, though. Then I think we need to look at a couple of squads of just, again, a bit of rule of cool, but also I think a unit that can definitely do some work. Let's get some Warp Talons on here. Obviously, big benefit, they got Deep Strike. These guys can drop in at the end of the fight phase. If this unit destroys one or more enemy units from this phase and is not within engagement range of one or more enemies, you can remove this unit from the battlefield and place them into strategic reserve. So another great unit now, and we use that in conjunction with our Raptors, who also have the ability to sneak away with one of the 10-man squads. We got a lot of uppy downy going on. If you don't know what uppy downy is, it's basically just that ability to return to strategic reserves after you've been on the battlefield. So I'm going to, do we go crazy and we pump this up to a 10-man? Because I think we need to make sure that that the unit can actually lift something off the table, because if they're only a 5-man, they may not kill a lot of units. Don't get me wrong, they're good. 4 attacks each, hitting on 3s, strength 5, minus 2 AP, damage 1, twin linked, so you're definitely going to be hopefully pushing through a lot of wounds. But 5-man, 10-man squads of things that maybe are a little bit tougher, I think a 5-man's going to struggle to lift. So let's pop that in there like that. And I reckon then we will also, just for versatility's sake, we will put just a 5-man in as well, which can maybe bully or pick on things, or even just tie up units. You're not as worried about getting that clap back. They're surprisingly survivable as well, the Warp Talons. I think because they've got a little, I think they've got, what does it say? That's a normal, but I think they've got a 5-up imbal as well. So it can take a little bit more of a hit than you might realize as well. So, all right, 1605. I think we're still lacking a little bit more anti-vehicle here, though. I still think we need to be able to blow up some more stuff. So what are some great ways to do that? I mean, the good thing is a lot of the older chassis tanks are quite cheap. Predator Annihilators, a Predator Destructor, both really good platforms for getting some anti-vehicle or anti-heavy infantry on the board as well. Let's put an Annihilator in for now. Only 135 points. Pretty good. And we don't have to be too careful about managing our points at the moment, because we've got our two key enhancements already in there as well, already locked in. So we're not having to budget or save points at the moment. So let's have a little bit of a look at the list and see if it's starting to take shape and where we might be missing or lacking anything. So at the moment, we've got Cypher. He's going to be our secondary guy. If you don't know what he does, the other thing he really does that's great to have in any team is he does Agent of Discord, which is each time your opponent targets a unit from their army with a stratagem, if that unit is within 12 inches of this model, you increase the cost. So if you're worried about something getting overwatched, if your opponent's got a stratagem they use every turn on a particular type of unit, might be one of their heavy hitters, this in conjunction with the issues they're going to have with, hopefully, how much battle shock this army's forcing out on them, that can make it really, really difficult for them to use their stratagems or get them off at the right time. So it's definitely one of those things. He's a great character, and at only 90 points, being able to score secondary, he can actually do quite a bit of shooting too. He's not too shabby and dealing in that damage. He gets to use his pistols in close combat. which are quite nice. Um, and you can also, yeah, and you even can have a shoot back one as well. So guns blazing once per turn in your opponent's shooting phase. An enemy unit makes a range attack that targets a friendly unit within 3 of this. After that enemy's shot, this model can shoot as if it was a shooting phase. So it's kind of funny. Like I like it's just a little annoyance character, and because of course your opponent's going to be probably more worried about other things. It's amazing how much damage you can do, and I kind of think it suits the theme. You know, like it's meant to be creating havoc and battle shocks and disarray amongst your opponent. Having a unit like Cypher in there definitely fits the theme. So he's our secondary dude. That's what he's there to do. He's there to notch up the secondaries. We've got a Chaos Lord with a jump pack, and he's got the Night Shroud, which gives his unit stealth. So great for increasing their survivability, meaning that when they do drop in, a lot less can shoot at them, keeping them alive for longer. And that means that them staying on the battlefield isn't as big an issue for them as well. So hopefully it works. We've also then got the Chaos Lord with the jump pack again, make that number 2. He's got the Warp Fuel Thrusters, which basically lets him take his unit back into strategic reserves at the end of your opponent's movement phase. So, at the end of your opponent's turn. So, very good. That means another unit not tied up. They can drop where you need them, and it's going to give your army huge maneuverability as well. So they're obviously leading. Those two are leading 2 10-man groups of Raptors. Oops, am I one short there? Yeah. 1 unit short. There we go. Now we're back in business. So 2 10-man units of Raptors. And obviously I've given them plasma pistols on the champion, and we've gone the melter guns as their extra hard-hitting close combat guns. And they've both got options with the ability to drop within 6-inch deep strike. They drew the regular drop in at 9 inches. All their guns are in range. They can do some shooting and hopefully finish things off in close combat as well. Now we go to our battle line. So these are our regular Joes. We're going to have 10 cultists. Their job's simple. Look after the home objective. Make it sticky. Die gloriously for the dark gods. Nice and simple. I think don't leave home without them. 10 of the best. Then we've got 2 5-man of legionaries. These guys are going to be together in a rhino. So that's going to be pushing up the battlefield. Hopefully trying to claim an objective. Sit there and not, if it gets blown up, splits into 2 5-mans. They get their benefits when they are fighting enemies on objectives. We can make them either close combat or shooty. I think the close combat option is probably the better one at the moment. Just makes them a little bit more overall dangerous. So we go and have a bit of a look. You can give one of the legionaries a heavy close combat weapon, which is really, really nice. And you can also obviously give them chainswords and bolt pistols as well. So give them that option instead of having their regular bolt guns and stuff like that. So they can really do some work. You can obviously kit out the aspiring champion, chuck a plasma pistol on him, give him an accursed weapon or something like that to make him punch up a little bit as well. So I like them. I think they're, in terms of battle line, there's some of the better battle line going around out there. So don't leave home without them as well. They're like the cultists. You just take them. Then we've got the other backup with the flying, keeping with our theme as well. We've got the Warp Talons, so a 10-man squad. Their benefit, come in, mince a unit, and then survive, fingers crossed. And then when they get the opportunity, they scarper back into Deep Strike and do it all over again. And then we have a smaller 5-man. These guys are great because that can be secondary. They can kind of flex to where you need them to go. They can still put out the hurt. They can still pick off smaller units or a unit of guardsmen or something. But they can also still score your points as well. So I like them. Bikers here, these guys, I'm still a little bit, I think it's cool thematically, and I think it's good to have a unit early in the game because their movement's very good. Where is it? There's their stats. Here it is. 12-inch move. And so they can get up the board real quick, chuck an advance on that's 18-inch. They can probably get an objective real early doors in the game. They could also push to a board edge to score you secondaries, push to the middle of the battlefield. Having that 12-inch move with the potential for it to be up to 18 is quite nice. It's quite good. Their bolt guns, everything does okay. they can obviously take some extra weapons. They can take, another great way to get some melter or some plasma into your list as well. I think I would keep them in there just because they're versatile. This list is all about speed. It's all about having lots of things for your opponent to worry about. And if they're worried about bikes, which are, can be surprisingly hard to shift, they're still toughness 5, 3 wounds each, 3 up save, put them in cover. They might hang around for a bit longer than your opponent wants them to. They've got to put a bit more firepower in them. And if they're shooting at bikes, they're not shooting at your more valuable assets. Then we've got the Predator Annihilator and a Chaos Vindicator. Especially with the Vindicator, I really picture that working alongside the Rhino to push and hold an objective. So you've kind of got the Rhino sitting on objective, troops inside there as well. And then obviously the Vindicator provides that close fire support. It doesn't care if it gets charged because it's chunky as, and it can still shoot its big gun into close combat. So great for clearing off any chaff if they try to lock it down as well. And then obviously the Rhino and the Annihilator does what Annihilators do, and that's it kills tanks. It's lots of las cannons for a bargain bin price. So you can't go too far wrong with one of those. I think their ability is not too bad as well. Anytime you target a monster or vehicle, you can reroll the damage roll, which in swingy weapons that are d6 plus 1 damage, that's huge. That's for free. So you don't need to, feels like it doesn't need stratagem support or stuff like that when you have to worry about things like that. Hitting on 3s and everything like that. So they're pretty consistent. Not to mention Dark Pacts. Haven't really mentioned it, but obviously this detachment still gets your Dark Pacts. So do sustained las cannons on, what is it? It would be 3 las cannon shots. Might get a lot more. Could be really, really good. So not too afraid of chucking some firepower downfield. So we've got, 260 points left. That's an interesting amount of points. We could go something big and heavy. Do we talk about like a squad of Terminators or something like that? I don't know if we need that in the list per se. Just because we've already got so much in Deep Strike and we've got things coming up and down. Do the Chaos Terminators give us what we want, The other option we could look at is even something maybe like a unit of Chosen, and also potentially chucking them in a Rhino. They've still got their ability to, let's have a quick look at the Chosen. Dropped one in. Here we go. So, where's their abilities? So, Chosen Marauders. This unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in which it advanced or fell back. So these guys already are kind of working very well with that need for speed ability that we kind of want with this whole army. They can put out a surprising amount of shots. They can also put out a surprising amount of close combat attacks. It's probably, it leans really well into what we're kind of wanting to do here, which is get up to our opponent's grill. If these guys are moving forward, our Rhinos moving forward, we're going to have units dropping in deep striking. Pretty much our opponent is always going to have something within 12 inches that's going to be making them do battle shock, which is exactly what we want to do. G'day, Gogglenaut. Greetings from America. Greetings from Australia. Thanks so much for joining us. We're talking Night Lords. We're talking a Dread Talons detachment. Feel free to join and share your thoughts. Great to have you watching and joining in. So we've got, Chosen Marauders. I think these guys are good. Let's have a look at the costs. Let's just do some bad maths. If we did take 10 of them, and then we went, and this might be too much investment, and then we went a Chaos Rhino, what does that puts us over? So what we could look at doing then, let's say we don't add the Rhino, we've got 10 points if we, so geez, if we add 10 of them, it's 250 points. That pretty much sits us right on the nose, because what I'm thinking here potentially is you could then just make the 2 Legionary squads just foot slog it. They're 5-man. That's fine. It doesn't matter if they have to run up the board. Put the Chosen into the transport, and then they get the extra benefits of being hooned around the battlefield. Is that what we want? 10 points. And that, when we don't have another character we could take either for another enhancement. Unfortunately, I don't think Cypher can take them. But being 10 points off isn't bad. Is that what we want to do? G'day, Black Sword. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Always great to see your face virtually in the chat. Maybe in real life too. I don't know. Who knows? Thanks for joining us. We're working hard on our Night Lords Dread Talons list here. I think we're getting close to something resembling a list that we could run with. I'm just sort of just tightening the screws now to make sure we've got everything that we need here. So, is there enough? I'm still quite tempted to drop the bikes, which would give us 80 points. But what does 80 points with Space Marines get us? Probably not a whole bunch. Yes, Black Sword, we do have ARC this week down here in Melbourne. Big 40K tournament that I am going to. Definitely going to meet you there. That's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I've been frantically painting, trying to get my units and my display board and everything ready for that tournament this week. I am not prepared, but I will get there. Fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to it. It'd be really, really cool to get out there. Maybe I should have concentrated on guard to get my mind in the guard mindset for the tournament, but I was like, no, I want to talk Space Marines. Chaos Spawn for 70 points. Yeah, Chaos Spawn are an interesting one. Are they better than bikes is the question here. Let's have a look. Let's go. Oh, so Mel, are you saying you'll be at ARC as well? You're going to be at ARC this weekend? All right. Let's go. Let's have a quick Chaos Spawns. We get 2 of them. We get 8 inches of movement, so a little bit slower. 2 of them. Saves on 4, 4 wounds, and toughness 5 versus the bikes are toughness 5. 3 up save, 3 wounds. So we're losing a bit of save, but we're getting some extra wounds. Oh, awesome, Mel. Make sure you come up and say g'day. I will be trawling around there. I'll be the guy looking very stressed trying to remember my rules all weekend. Then we've got, okay. Ooh, mind-breaking mutations. Or is an aura these guys have. While an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, is within 3 inches, subtract 1 from objective control characteristics of models in that enemy unit. Is that new? I swear that they didn't used to have that. Has that changed? They've also got to feel no pain, 5 up. I'm leaning with you, Black Sword. I think this might be a bit of a better choice. They obviously punch a lot harder in close combat than the bikes do. Obviously, we're losing a little bit of movement, but I like that ability to subtract objective control as well, because this is the kind of unit you want to go up and cause a bit of ruckus with the enemy screening units, and I think these guys might potentially be doing that a little bit better. I like that. All right, Black. So I think you've talked me into it. Chaos Bikers, you're out. All right. So now we've got our screening kind of unit. They don't have it in infiltrate or anything like that, do they? No extra shenanigans. Basically, no. Because that would have been cool if they could have scouted or something like that. Because even getting a unit that could scout as well would be very, very, very handy. I like that. That's the Chaos Spawn. Yeah, that's for what I'm wanting them to do. They do just beat out the bikes. The 5 up, feel no pain, the extra wound, the ability to do more damage in close combat, because that means 8-inch move with the potential to charge and flip an objective or something like that. I said the OC 0 is no good. You're definitely correct about that. But yeah, that's actually interesting. OC 0. Come on, Spawn, get it together. Why can't you control those objectives? But realistically, I think it's just about making your opponent's life a little bit annoying. I don't know. Yeah, I think they're in. I still think they're in. I still think they're going to be well supported. The only other unit I'm thinking of could swap out, because it's quite expensive, are the Chosen the unit here. I think thematically they fit. You do want to have like a rapid threat. It's a big chunky unit, 10 wounds. It means that your opponent has to worry about it. They can't put all their efforts into worrying about your guys that are jumping in. We're going to have 30 units, 35, sorry, guys potentially jumping in and out from Deep Strike, which is really cool. Have to double check the points, but even worst case, you could start the Warp Talons on the board and then nick them up at the end of the first turn. 250 points. What would we potentially, if we didn't take 250 points of Chosen, what would we take instead? I think that's the big one. I do like Hell Brutes, but I just don't think 130 points, that would give us 120 for something else. 120 is a bit of an awkward number. We could get a Hell Brute and a Venom Crawler. But I don't know, again, if that really does anything for this list. I don't know if that leans into what we're trying to create. Let's have a quick last one. What does a Venom Crawler do? Excuse me. Movement 12, toughness 9, save on 3s, 9 wounds. Okay. An Excruciator Cannon, which is a strength 6 weapon, 6 attacks, AP 1 damage 2, not bad. Soul Flayer, Tendrils and Claws, so not bad in close combat. So they're a bit of a, can do a little bit of both things okay. 5 up invul. And at the end of the fight phase, if one or more attacks modes model from that phase destroyed one or more enemy units, until the end of the battle, add 1 to its attack characteristics. Yeah, probably doesn't quite do what we want it to do. Yeah, look, it's fun, but I don't think in this list it's what we need. It's a bit of a, does a lot of things okay, but I don't think it would push out the Chosen. I think the Chosen are going to be hard to push out. They're very consistent. I would love to have a leader model of some description on them, because what have we got in leaders and how many points? Because is it even, we got Cypher in there for 90 points. We could swap out Cypher for a Chaos Lord, but I don't know. So the spawn would work well with a squad going for objective control. Definitely their order causes enemies -1 OC. 100%. I think them working in conjunction maybe with one of the 5-man squads of Legionaries could be a real pest for one of the objectives. So Legionaries give you the OC, and obviously the having the spawn can make it sure it's easier to flip those objectives. Interesting. Yeah, so is it worth the Chaos Lord for Cypher? I mean, Cypher has the scoring potential. He also has those buffs and the benefits that he can make your opponent's life a bit more miserable by making stratagems a little bit more expensive. And I really like that. I'd be hard pressed to push him out, I reckon. Yeah, I reckon I'm gonna struggle to get him out there. What other characters? Anything else that gives us a feeling that it might be worth it? Master of Executions, Master of Possessions, Master of Executions. Let's have a quick look at you. Warp-sided Butcher, leading a unit, makes a melee attack, targets a unit. There's blow starting, you can reroll. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack that targets a unit that is below its starting strength, you can reroll the hit roll. If that unit is below half strength, you can reroll the wound roll. Interesting. I don't mind that. That could be a bit of fun. Welcome to the chat, Barnyard Wargaming. So great to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks so much for pumping up the subs too. You should listen to him. If you haven't subscribed already, feel free. Make sure you do click the subscribe button, click the like. And while you're at it, go check out Barnyard Wargaming as well if you want some awesome bat reps. Definitely the channel, check it out. Another Australian content creator. Definitely worth your time. I did a bat rep on there very recently playing the Night Lords. We won't talk about the result of the game. You have to find that out yourself. But it was a whole bunch of fun. So thanks so much for dropping in Barnyard Wargaming. All right, so we were looking at where the hell, I've lost my train of thought. This has all gone pear-shaped. We're looking at the Master of Executions as a potential character. I do like potentially how much he could pump up another great Barnard, you weren't meant to reveal the result of the bat rep, okay? Some people may be into seeing me get absolutely crushed though. In fact, a lot of people. But well, now you know. Now you all know. Go check it out to watch me get absolutely mauled. Trophy taker. I like the idea too. Destroying an enemy character, helping us get CP. But yeah, again, is his 70 points better than Cypher for our shenanigans and our point scoring. We do have like options with that point scoring, but you don't want to tie it too much with the Legionaries. We don't want to tie it up too much with just one squad of Warp Talons. I still think we need the versatility there as well. Black Sword, yes, they do have access to the Land Raider. Definitely considered chucking one in. 240 points for a Land Raider. So I could put a Land Raider in instead of the Chosen. But is that what we want to do? I mean, it's rule of cool, yes. Actual rule of what we need, I'm not sure. I always love finding an excuse to take a Land Raider. Yeah, all right. I think maybe we're getting close. I think maybe this is the one. Cypher's probably the only thing I'm still a little bit out on. What do you guys think in the chat? Any ideas? What would you do? Would you think the secondary scoring? Because if we take Cypher out, we've got a 5-man sort of Warp Talon squad that can score us those little secondaries. The Legionaries can do it, and I mean, as well. You're very right there, Black Sword. I said having that extra speed is very good. We've got the one Rhino. I do love Chosen in the Land Raider or Terminators in the Land Raider. Great idea, Barnyard. We'll have to swap some kill teams, some 40k lessons. We found out I definitely need the game ones for sure. Oh, jeez. Chaos Spawn can't really help us too. I mean, a little bit, but let's be honest, the Chaos Spawn are going to die very, very early on. I think that's, yeah. All right, let's walk through the list one more time. And unless I see something that I've missed or that shatters my perspective of this, I think this is the list. Let's go through. So we're going to have Cypher. He's our secondary boy. He's also going to help us because he's obviously got that ability, Agents of Discord, which is going to help us make sure that we're annoying our opponent, making all their stratagems cost 2 CP. If we keep him near the Chosen, can stop things like Overwatch if you're versing something that you're worried about that, but also even just using their best defensive strats as well without having to pay an additional tax. So that's pretty good. We've then got the Chaos Lord with the jump pack. We've got the Night Shroud, which is going to give his big blob of 10 Raptors stealth. So great for survivability, great for keeping them on the board and having them zipping around, being able to survive. The other Chaos Lord has our Warp Fuel Thrusters. That means that he's going back to Deep Strike as well. So uppy downy basically on another big squad of 10 Raptors. So good fun core units there. They're going to be helping to trigger all sorts of battle shock across the battlefield because we're obviously going to be dropping them in and amongst our opponent, and that's what we want to be doing. We want to be setting off as many of these battle shocks as we can. 10 cultists guarding the home objective. Believe it or not, I still think my cultist mob was my MVPs against Barnyard Wargaming because they didn't die and they held my home objective. So great stuff, lads. We got 2 5-man squads of Legionaries. These guys are just going to be on foot. These guys are secondary / primary holders. Realistically, I'm wanting them to push up and being able to leave them on a primary while I pressure the opponent somewhere else. But they're very versatile, so they can do a little bit of everything. 5-man squads are surprisingly survivable. They can put out a lot of hurt, and obviously they get benefits against units on objectives, which is what we want to see. We've got 10 Chosen. These guys are going to be in a Rhino, and they're going to be pushing that mid-board straight away. In a lot of ways, these are a bit of a distraction if that content doesn't deal with them. If it doesn't deal with them, then they can put out some hurt. If they do, it means they're not too worried about all the things dropping in and hurting them in the backfield. So Chosen are going to be a good weapon there. We've got 10 Raptors. I know that we've already talked about the Raptors. We know what they're doing. 10 Warp Talons. This is that big one that we just drop in to try and lift those mid sort of tier infantry units and then disappear and then come back and do it again. 10-man means hopefully they're going to put out a lot of hurt and there's not any units they should be able to rinse in close combat so they can return to strategic reserve. We've got another 5-man, just another swing unit, can do a little bit of everything, do what we need. Thanks to Black Sword in the chat, we've got 2 Chaos Spawn. We've gone the spawn over the bikes. Although they don't have the OC, they also minus our enemies OC, which I really, really like. They can hit hard in close combat. They've got to feel no pain, survive for 4 wounds. I think they'll hang around and be a bit annoying. Again, if your opponent doesn't deal with them, they continue to be annoying, and that's a good thing. Then we've got our Predator Annihilator. This is our anti-tank hunter, along with the Chaos Vindicator, which, while the Predator Annihilator sort of hangs back, can help screen a little bit and put fire down range. The Vindicator's doing the opposite. That's going to be moving up alongside the Chosen into that mid board and hopefully blowing some stuff up. And then, as we mentioned, we've got the Rhino, which the Chosen are driving in. I think that's a list, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you make a list. Doesn't mean it's the best one, but it sure happened, which is really good. Just check the Goggle Nord. I appreciate the content. I'm stuck at home after surgery. You guys rock. Thanks so much. It means a whole bunch to hear. Really, really love creating content like this for you. And I hope you're on the mend soon. Hopefully this is helping you get through that. So the recovery. So best wishes. And hopefully you're bouncing back real soon. Mel Lilly was just saying to Barnyard Wargames, it reminded her of herself when she plays her hubby or son. The games take way longer than usual. Unfortunately, that is this guy's fault, I think. I love to talk nonsense and get distracted during my games because it's social at the end of the day. You know, you want to have fun and enjoy it. So, yeah, I blew that game out a bit. So sorry about that. But hey, it means if you're watching it while painting, if you're watching it while hobbying, I'll make sure I put it in the description of this VOD as well. If you've got a lot of time while you're painting and hobbying, it's well worth watching because it feels a lot of time and it's fun. The energy's great and it's a fun game to watch. All right, so I think that's the list. I think I am happy to call that. I definitely want to see. The only thing I don't have, if I wanted to test this list ASAP, I'd need to get an extra Jump Pack Lord and I'd need to get some more Warp Talons and Raptors. Unfortunately, this is a little bit more theory crafting than I usually like to do. I usually like to build lists that I could field, but you can't own anything. I've tried. It's too expensive. I don't want to spend any more money on every army ever. But yeah, thanks so much. If you have joined us, we'll wrap it up there, I reckon. I think that's as good a spot as any. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for keeping it singing in there. We love seeing you there. Obviously, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe on the channel here. Obviously, this will go up as a VOD as well. You can always watch this back if you did miss it and wanted to see how we got to this point. Really, really appreciate you hanging out. We're going to be doing this weekly. There'll be more coming along soon. So make sure there is a Discord, which all these lists will go onto as well. So feel free to join that. There's a Patreon for Threes to Wound as well if you always want to support the channel a little bit more. If you're going to ARC this weekend, I'll see you there and I'm very excited. In the meantime, we will see you all in the next video. Thanks so much.